Portal travel. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend.
Sometimes I'm like a whisper in a riot, but I grow strong and keep believing.
So, recently, in times past, like a week, I covered Dan Harmon's Story Circle, which is a narrative structure, and in that video, I did not cover any specific examples of it being applied to an actual story, because last time I did that, the second I started doing that, all of you clicked off the video. So this time I split them in two, because I'm going to be applying the Story Circle to Rick and Morty episodes, because Rick and Morty is created by Justin Roiland, but also Dan Harmon. So basically every single episode of Rick and Morty has the Story Circle shoved right up in there.
Way up inside your butthole, Morty. Oh, jeez, Rick.
So the pilot of Rick and Morty was actually famously written in only 6 to 8 hours.
What do you think of this? I mean,
Perfect.
did you read it though?
I guess I didn't do a good job of bluffing.
So basically they pitched the show, and then that same night Justin Roiland was like, hey, let's just write this. And Dan Harmon was like, I got a circle, we can do this. So most episodes of Rick and Morty, including the second one I'm going to be analyzing, tend to have two main plot circles. Generally they'll surround the A plot and the B plot. Usually one of these is Morty, and then the other one is one of the side characters. Now as I go through these different stages happen at different parts in the episode for different characters, so timelines, they don't matter here. Step number 1 in the circle is that the hero is in a zone of comfort or familiarity. Morty's is that he is in a boring math class. And then Rick is in his lab, although that's off screen. So Beth's zone of comfort and familiarity is that she has her hand inside of a horse. Yes, that graphic demonstration was very important. So she has her hand inside of a horse, as one does, and then Jerry's zone of familiarity and comfort is that he barges in and interrupts her and bothers her. Step number 2, they want something. Morty wants to grab Jessica's boobs because he's a teenage boy, and that's what they do, apparently. Let's make this a little more narratively sound. Morty wants to have the courage to speak to Jessica without having a heart attack. Rick, on the other hand, wants special seeds for special science-y things. Beth wants to know if Rick is a bad influence on Morty. And Jerry wants Rick gone.
Hey, honey, crazy idea. Let's put your dad in a nursing home.
He just came back into my life.
Your father is a horrible influence on our son.
Number 3, they enter an unfamiliar situation.
There you are, Morty. Listen to me. I got an errand to run in a whole different dimension. I need an extra pair of hands.
Oh, jeez, Rick.
Rick takes Morty off to another planet, which is in dimension 35C, and this is Morty's unfamiliar situation. I am grabbing my hair. And when they're in dimension 35C, they get chased by this creature thing, which Rick is not prepared to handle, and that is his unfamiliar situation.
Run, Morty, run! I've never seen that thing before in my life, Morty. I don't know what the hell it is.
Beth and Jerry's stage 3 is just them talking with the principal at Morty's school.
I wonder if you and Morty's father might be able to have a chat with me this afternoon.
Step number 5 is they adapt to it.
Any idea what that is down there? The mega trees? That's right, Morty, the mega trees.
So with Morty, this is when he gets the guts to walk off the cliff.
You have to turn them on, Morty.
Except he forgot to turn on the grab boots, so kind of just falls. For Rick, this is when he portal jumps and gets the healing serum for Morty's legs, adapting to the unfamiliar situation that has been this planet and him not being prepared for once in his life.
Not that you asked, Morty, but what just happened there is I went into a future dimension with such advanced medicine. They had also halted the aging process, and everyone there was young, Morty. It was like I was some sort of, celebrity walking around. I was fascinating to them.
But Rick's fancy portal space hoppy device is completely dead because he spent too much time in the other dimension for reasons.
There were a lot of attractive women there, Morty, and they all wanted time with me. But I spent so much time there, my interdimensional portal device, it's got no charge left, Morty. We're gonna have to go through interdimensional customs.
So they have to travel back the good old-fashioned way, basically an airport.
He's got to go through the new machine.
What new machine?
It's a new machine. It detects stuff all the way up your butt.
Run, Morty, run!
And so they end up fleeing from security guards because Morty is smuggling seeds in his butt. Right, that was another thing. Morty is smuggling giant seeds in his butt because this is a comedic adult cartoon.
When we get to customs, I'm gonna need you to take these seeds into the bathroom, and I'm gonna need you to put them way up inside your butthole, Morty.
Oh, jeez, Rick.
So I guess that's technically part of Morty adapting, you could say. It's hard to narratively analyze that because...
I really don't want to have to do that.
So I keep trying to say Ben and Jerry. Beth and Jerry's adapting to their situation is just them talking to the principal and learning about how Rick has actually been pulling Morty out of school and hurting his grades.
Son Morty has attended this school for a total of 7 hours over the last 2 months. Have you not been getting the messages I've been leaving with Morty's grandfather?
What step are we on? Step number what? Step number 5 is they get what they wanted. For Morty, this happens as they finish fleeing the security guards.
I need to type in the coordinates to our home world, Morty. Cover me.
Oh, man. Ben's bleeding to death. Someone call his wife.
They go through a portal that Rick kind of hacked, and Morty lands straight onto Jessica's table.
Did you just come into the cafeteria through a portal?
Yeah, well, you know, my Ferrari's in the shop.
And that piques her curiosity, and she actually talks to him, and he talks back to her and does not have a panic attack. He's also more desensitized now, so it was through his ordeal that he earned this newfound lack of fear. Now, Rick in this scenario doesn't actually get what he wants because the seeds dissolve inside of Morty and then they're gone and he's gonna have to go back and get them.
We gotta get out of here. You gotta get those seeds out of your ass.
Oh, look, honey, it's our son with Albert Eindouche.
Then we have Beth, who kind of gets what she wants by seeing that Rick is actively taking Morty out of school. So likewise, Jerry gets what he wants because they catch him red-handed, they have proof, and so Beth agrees to kick Rick out. Step number 6 doesn't tend to really happen after step number 5. It's more of just something you analyze at some point throughout this kind of range of steps, and that is they pay a heavy price. So for Morty, the heavy price that he pays is basically his innocence, having been forced to, kill people.
They're not robots, Rick!
It's a figure of speech, Morty. They're bureaucrats. I don't respect them.
The heavy price that Rick pays is that Beth and Jerry are kicking him out. Beth's price is that she's losing her father figure right when she just got him back. And Jerry's price here is that he has to confess to Morty that Morty is dumb, and that's why Rick is getting kicked out.
You know fully well that Morty is the last child that needs to be missing classes.
We both know you're not as fast as the other kids. You gotta work twice as hard.
Which brings us to step number 7, which is return to the familiar world. Because these episodes are so short, a lot of these steps end up really condensed and happen in very quick succession, so this basically immediately happens. And this is where Rick gets Morty to spout off a bunch of random science facts.
Morty, tell your parents the first law of thermodynamics.
The increment in the internal energy of a system is equal to the increment of heat supplied to the system? Wow!
He's too smart for school. He needs to keep hanging out and helping me.
Beth and Jerry then agree to let everything go back to normal.
Jerry, I don't want whatever's happening here to stop.
Maybe we overreacted.
Which brings us to step number 8, which is having changed. So Morty overcame some fears and gained some confidence. Beth has renewed faith in family and in her father.
Between us from now on, it's gonna be 100% honesty.
And Jerry learns that he overreacted and takes a step back. And Rick agrees to be more open and honest, which is immediately proven as a lie.
I didn't know hanging out with you was making me smarter.
Temporary superintelligence is just a side effect of the mega seeds dissolving in your rectal cavity.
Oh, man.
And once those seeds wear off, you're gonna lose most of your motor skills.
So in most episodes, we actually see this kind of odd pattern where Rick skips his having changed step. And this is really just a unique to Rick and Morty case. To have his character be able to be the smartest dude in the universe, they can't really have him be learning a lesson every single episode. Also, likewise, he's very rarely in unfamiliar situations for the exact same reason.
I'm no stranger to scary situations. I deal with them all the time. Holy crap, Morty, run! Morty, run! I've never seen that thing before in my life!
So in most Rick and Morty episodes, you'll find that the circle best matches Morty. Rick is more there to be the mentor, the conflict, and the call to adventure. And as such, he cannot be held to a circle or his character just wouldn't work. So as you'll see, the circle is just applied in different extents to different episodes, and often it's a complete side character, one-off character that gets the best circle within the episode. Which brings us to episode number 2, which is Lawnmower Dog. So this is going to focus on Morty's circle and Snuffle's circle, because this is a case where a one-off character gets their own circle. So firstly, we have Zone of Comfort, and this is where Snuffles is just a normal dog doing normal dog things, like pissing on the carpet, as dogs do. Morty is off in his own plotline, and his zone of familiarity is that he's getting bad grades in math. Probably because, as we saw in the pilot, he spends all of his math class just thinking about Jessica's boobs. So then we have step 2, which is they want something. Morty keeps getting grounded because of his bad grades in math, so he, and by extension Rick, want him to get better grades so he's grounded less so he can go off on more sciencey adventures. This is kind of more of a want from Rick's side of things.
Jeez, Rick, in the time it took you to make this thing, couldn't you have just, helped me with my homework?
Are you listening to me, Morty? Homework is stupid.
So for Snuffles, this is him wanting to not have to deal with Jerry's shit. In other words, he wants to not be a subservient to humans. Which brings us to step number 3. They enter an unfamiliar situation. Rick makes the dog super smart, which is a pretty unfamiliar situation for this dog. And then for Morty's circle, Rick and Morty go into the math teacher's dreams, Inception style, because Dan Harmon has something against the movie Inception for some reason.
Talking about Inception?
This is gonna be a lot like that, except, it's gonna make sense.
Inception made sense?
You don't have to try to impress me, Morty.
Step number 4, they adapt to it. Snuffles gets smarter.
Snuffles want to be understood. Snuffles need to be understood.
He is now at an intelligence level that's actually above the humans, arguably. Rick and Morty, on the other hand, adapt by learning how to better traverse the dream.
I don't know what to say.
You don't need to say anything. We got you, dog.
You're our boy, dog. Don't even trip.
Then we have step 5, which is they get that which they wanted. And for Rick and Morty, this is when they get back to the top layer of the dream and succeed in scaring the math teacher into giving Morty good grades. Which, if the teacher actually changed his grades purely based on a dream that scared him, probably not the best math teacher. Snuffles
was my slave name. You shall now call me Snowball, because my fur is pretty and white.
Snuffles gets that which he desires when his higher level intelligence allows him to start a dog rebellion, sharing the tech with the other dogs and caging Jerry and the others.
Tell me, Summer, if a human was born with stumpy legs, would they breed it with another deformed human and put their children on display like the dachshund?
That brings us to number 6, which is they pay a heavy price. And this is where the two storylines kind of merge back into one, because the heavy price that Rick and Morty pay is being gone throughout the whole Snowball thing, and so not being present to stop it. So, spoiler alert, to get to the part where Snowball pays a heavy price, we have another Inception style thing where Rick ends up going into Snowball's dream, and in that dream time passes much more quickly, and so the dogs take over the eastern seaboard.
It's like Inception, Morty, so if it's confusing and stupid, then so is everyone's favorite movie.
Oh, man.
And so then in the dream, Morty gets sick because Dream Rick made him get sick, but Snowball doesn't know that. So Snowball bankrupts this dog society trying to save Morty, and
I would trade it all for my human's health.
Do you think they would have done this for us?
We are not them. We are not them.
Snowball wakes up, and this dream has scared him to where he thinks that if he follows this path and continues to take over the world, the dogs will end up harming humans, and that will include Morty being harmed, and he loves Morty.
You were always kind to me, Morty. That's why I will leave you with your testicles.
So that leads to step number 7, which is they return to their familiar situation.
Assemble the troops. I've made a decision.
So Snowball decides that all of the intelligent dogs should go to outer space and form a dog colony. The familiar situation is pretty easy for Rick and Morty. They just go back to not having space dogs taking over and not going through dreams. And then we have step number 8, which is they have changed. It's pretty obvious how Snowball changed.
Taking over the human's world will lead to nothing but more heartbreak, more cruelty. Instead, we will go to a new world, one that will not make the same mistakes as humanity.
And then Rick and Morty, we can kind of assume, learned that they shouldn't make dogs super smart. Because these are episodes of a TV show, these are super short. So you'll often find that they have changed step is either kind of implied or kind of skipped over.
And then the third beat is just fucking nonsense. It's just them kickboxing ISIS rules.
Yeah.
So as you'll see, the circle is just applied in different extents to different episodes. It isn't a law. Dan Harmon himself does not make every episode conform perfectly to this circle because that's not what the circle's for. Narrative structures aren't a box that you're supposed to be shoving your story into, but rather just a rough map that will help you not get lost along the way. And that was it for this video. Let me know in the comments down below, what's your favorite Rick and Morty episode? If you're interested in narrative structures, I have tons more videos on them. Playlist linked in the description, and you'll also find most of them in the end cards. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.